Hello, everybody in YouTube land. It is your buddy Choppadong with another episode of Chop Talk brought to you by DFSArmy.com, your one-stop shop for all things daily fantasy sports, all sports covered, coaches, content, tools, the whole bit. If you've looked on Twitter and followed me out there at Choppadong, you've noticed some screenshots of the research station that's coming for NFL. Obviously, the stacking methods in the domination station optimizer that are coming. These are little snippets I'm giving to you to show you what's coming. So you need to jump into the Army by becoming a VIP. Go down to the comments section, click dfsarmy.com, use coupon code CHOP, C-H-O-P, and jump in today so that you can unlock all this stuff for yourself. Don't watch me drive the car. Don't sit back there like Miss Daisy. Jump in the driver's seat yourself. Let's take a few laps around the track. What we're going to do today is we're going to dive into all four slates. All four. And we're going to start with the main slate because that's what gives us the bigger picture overall. The first thing I do want to do is run down a little bit of weather concerns with you. Typically what we'll do on the early games is we've got Philly and Washington, a little bit questionable, probably not the biggest deal in the world. It looks like the rain's going to go away as the game goes on, maybe a little dry spell. Look, less than a 50-50 shot usually doesn't scare me. If it happens, it happens. When I look over here at Atlanta, though, this does scare me. When I see over 50% chance, boom, I'm off the arms. I'm off the arms. Good luck. I'm not using Gossman or Nova anyway. But bats, yeah, now you're taking some risks. If you see some great opportunities, you might use them, save them for GPP. Don't touch this game in cash, honestly, unless you get some kind of word from a qualified weatherman. I'm just a weather nerd. A qualified weatherman that tells you the game is safe. Safe is the word you're looking for. Don't go taking risks in your cash games. In your hybrid lineups, your GPP lineups, by all means, take some risk because it's going to take that to climb up the ladder board to win the contest. So when we see over 50%, boom, we're off the arms completely. We're contemplating bats. In cash, we're probably off the bats, but in GPPs, we might gamble if we can see maybe a little bit of leverage, maybe something a little anti-chalk or something that is very, very chalky as far as a good situation that people are going to be a little afraid or a little timid. You remember the tip I've given you a couple of times. When the world gets greedy, you need to get scared. And when the world gets scared, you need to get greedy. That's how you win in DFS. Scrolling down, dome, fair weather. A little bit up front, but not much that I'd worry about. If anything, that's a late start. Pitchers should be fine. Not that we're using any of those pitchers. Fine. A little bit of risk here, a little bump here through the evening as it kicks in. If the rain does hit, I don't really know enough about the weather today and projected radars and whatnot to know if that weather's going to just roll through as a line or if it's going to stick around a while or what. I would look at it and I'd watch it closer to lock because it may bump up our confidence or bump down our confidence in the pitching. And Berrios may be on some of you guys' radar. Colorado for sure. This time of year, storms tend to pop up on the range, and they tend to sit and camp. They don't really blow out of there super easy. I don't know if that's a scenario today or not. What I do know is that with 30 to 40% chances and 50% chances in the peak of the evening, you might get some kind of a delay. These games sometimes wash out at random out there in the mountains, but we can see that coming hopefully closer to lock. Pay attention to that because I know a lot of people are going to be on this game. This is the type of game that if the chances were 50-50 or better, that would be a game I would contemplate getting in because that's when people get scared of the rain. And we know being out there in Denver, it can be a pretty juicy spot. So the other thing you might employ is the theory of first game fade, coming off the road, coming back to home. Offenses tend to get a little flat out there in Colorado. I don't know. You'd have to track that over the year, see if it's a pattern. One year I looked, it was definitely a pattern. Another year I looked, it definitely was not a pattern. They scored all their runs in their first game back. So, you know what? You might want to do a little bit of game log hunting or a little bit of research on, another site that tells you some of those statistics as well. But that's about it for the weather today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to kick down into the research station. We sort by K percentage, pull all of our strikeout guys to the top. Brad Peacock was a closer, saving games last back in early July. I don't know personally if the guy's been injured or not. I know, super informed guy you're listening to here. But I don't need to know that crap. All I need to know is that once he was a reliever and once he's priced at 5,500, he's not going deep into the game. Most likely. You may follow a beat reporter and find out, was he down in the minors stretching his arm out? Was he on the DL? What was going on? I don't give two shits. I know it's 5,500. I know it's attractive, but the guy doesn't go into the fourth inning. He's not eligible to get me the win. He's not eligible to get me the quality start. I don't care if he has 6 strikeouts in 4 innings. It doesn't do me a lot of good. It might, but he gives up a few runs as he gets a little tired because his arm's not stretched out and he gets shelled. And Seattle, obviously, as you saw last night, more than capable of doing that. That is not a safe pitching environment. It is not. It is greedy, and when the world gets greedy, I get fearful. Tanaka, 10-2, not priced up. Corbin, priced up a smidge, not really a factor. Blake Snell, priced up pretty big, going against Kansas City. Fanduel did not adjust for this matchup. There's value in this spot. Velasquez, not so much. Bieber, not so much. Berrios, a little bit. Remember, we mentioned a little bit of weather out there. You might want to double check and watch that. Ryu, a little bit. But here, I'll talk about Ryu here in a minute. But as we focus mostly on the high strikeout guys, because those are the guys that are going to bury their earned runs with some points for you, we're going to look over here at the opponent's K percentage, and we're going to look at who's facing the higher strikeout teams. You come down here to Berrios. He's got himself a pretty decent K score of 494 today. That's not bad. He's also priced up a little bit on DraftKings. He might be worth taking a shot on, especially if it rains, because people will get fearful. Therefore, we can get a little bit greedy. But I don't want to see it being over 50% in chances of rain, because I don't want a rain-shortened game screwing me on pitching, especially in hybrid and cash type lineups where I'm trying to be a little bit safe. I'll take a little risk in hybrids, but I'm not going to go full-on cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs risky with my arms, because that's the most consistent source of my points. What I'm going to look at when I look at Corbin and Tanaka and whatnot is a little bit decent K scores, 460 to 480. Corbin draws LA, doesn't strike out a ton. And then down here, of course, Bieber gets really squelched by this 18% K percentage out of Boston. So those numbers fall off the rack a little bit. And as a result, down go their DFSA grades. I do like the fact, I'll just run through the list with you. Tanaka, 10-2, minus 220 in Vegas, 482 K score, 93 going up against Miami. That's not a bad spot. A little pricey, but it's not a bad spot. I would be more excited if I saw the price gap increase in DraftKings. That actually is sort of becoming a thing with arms for me. Corbin, also not priced up a ton, 10.8, minus 220, lower K score than Tanaka at 462, lower DFSA grade facing the Angels. I don't know why I would pay $600 more for that crap. I don't want to pay more to get less. If I want to do that, I'd be driving a Cadillac. Sorry to all you Cadillac drivers out there. Blake Snell's probably my target at this point at 9.6, priced up over $2,000, almost $2,000 on DraftKings, minus 240. Great Vegas total, or great Vegas odds. 481 K scores, right up there with the rest of the guys on the slate. It's not over 500 like we look for, but it's up there with the tops on the slate. And he's a 97 DFSA grade facing Kansas City's offense. I like that spot a lot, and the pricing up helps tip the scales, give me a little bit of extra confidence. Blake Snell's probably going to be one of my pitchers tonight. I don't know that he's cash safe. I would double check that if I was you. But I would definitely be looking long and hard at him for hybrids and GPP lineups for sure. Velasquez, probably not on the radar. 6,700 dirt cheap underdog plus 125, 445 facing Washington at a 56 DFSA grade. I probably will pay up to $3,000. I'm just not screwing with points, man. I'm not screwing with my consistent base of my points. Velasquez is not in a strong enough matchup or performing well enough lately to really tempt me and make me want to take the money and run. Bieber, 7,200 plus 140 in Vegas, 426 K score facing Boston. No. Ultimate GPP pick, but no. Not something I would do unless I'm playing 20, 30, 40, 50, 70,000 people in a quarter arcade type situation. Sure. Run it out there then. He nuts the slate somehow on some outlier performance and you happen to have him. Bonus, turn your quarter into $1,000. Go for it. That's the kind of risk that pays that, or that's the kind of reward that pays that kind of risk. But only winning $25 for $1, or $100 for $2, that ain't doing it for you. You can't take that kind of risk in that situation. Looking at Jose Berrios' second option today, 9-1 up to 10-9, $1,800 price increase. We don't really worry about Chicago usually, but Chicago's been scoring a little bit lately, so there is that. But that price up helps me a little bit. The minus 130 out of Vegas, not as strong as the 240 for Snell. 494 definitely helps with the K score. That's tops on your slate. At least out of these, top third type guys, that's tops on your slate. 92 DFS Army grade. That helps too. I can call it right now. I would say Snell and Berrios, 1 and 2. I'd probably run 75% Snell and 25% Berrios. Take my chances. Anybody else is just kind of You're overthinking it or you're getting too cute for the slate. Don't worry about it. So let's move on. We'll see if the chalk changes because those guys are early starts. Snell at 7:10. Berrios at 8:10. Berrios will be on the express. Won't be on the late night or the after hours. So we're going to have to find new pitchers for that. That's a good sign. That'll help us when we break down these 4 slates. The other thing that we do is we come over here. We already talked Vegas a little bit. We're going to sift off the bad DFSA grades, sort those by ascending so that we bring the junk to the top. Now we're going to look for offenses to target. Because if you looked at the graphic in Chin Music the other day and you look at it again today, your high scoring offenses for the last 30 days right now, Texas, Angels, Mets, Nationals, Yankees, Red Sox, Athletics, Diamondbacks. That's it. If you want to write it down, write it down. If not, look at Chin Music. It'll be out here in a little bit. The high ERA teams, the teams that are giving up a lot of runs that we want bats against, Oakland, Baltimore, Toronto, Yankees, Twins, Rays, Diamondbacks, Astros. Sorry for going halftime with the city, halftime with the names. It's just what I do when I get going fast. So those are your teams. Those automatically get a star in the 5-star rating system. Those get 1 star. If you're on both lists, you get 2 stars. Arizona's on both lists, scoring runs and facing a team giving up runs. Okay? So they're already at 2 stars. What we're going to do is we're going to look at the DFSA grade, and we're going to slot those going at about a 40 or less. So somewhere down in here, Eovaldi and worse. Gaviglio, worse. All right? What I wrote down for DFSA grade was starting at the top and coming down to my marker, Oakland, Minnesota, Chicago, Texas, Cincinnati, Milwaukee, Arizona. So I stopped here. You want to include Cleveland and Baltimore? Go for it. It's all right. I just didn't, for whatever reason. It's a feel thing. Now when I go to implied run totals, it worked out fairly well, but I didn't like these zeros. So what I did was I had to go digging back through implied run totals on other sites and finding them. But I come down to about 4.9, 4.8. So let's come down to about Velasquez. And we're going to run Colorado, Milwaukee, Boston, Chicago Cubs, Arizona, Toronto, New York Yankees, Washington Nationals. And then I threw in Oakland and LA Dodgers because they had zeros. And it turns out that actually in Vegas, they're carrying implied run totals over 4.9. So I added them in there and gave them stars. Now you know how we go double red. We take the L7, or not the L7 WOBA. We take the WOBA here for righties over the past couple of seasons, see who's struggling against righties. Boom, it's all these guys. We come over here. We look for pinks. I don't mind coming down here so much to Sal Romano. Mike Leake, throw him in there. But Sal Romano and up. So 1, 2, 3. But I'm only looking at the pink. If they handle left-handed bats, I don't want them. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So about 7 pitchers. Okay, and I'll slide over here. We'll mark those pitchers down, and I'll read them off to you. Milwaukee. I must have started at the bottom, worked my way up. Arizona. Mets. Rangers. Baltimore. Cubs. Rays. Those are your double reds. So now we got 5 different categories. Runs scored in the last 30 days. Facing a high ERA team over the last 30 days. DFSA grade for bad pitching, implied run total out of Vegas that's high, over 4.8, 4.9, somewhere in there usually, and double red, which is gives up WOBA to both left-handed and right-handers. We have our bats facing a pitcher that gives up WOBA to both righties and lefties alike. And what we've got out of there is 4 or 5 stars. Now here's your 5-star teams. Ready? Arizona, that's it. Arizona hit all 5 boxes. Remember yesterday we only had 3-star offenses. And yesterday was a pretty low-scoring day, wasn't it? I mean, by and large, if you didn't have Morales or that dude, the center field punt that donged twice, you probably, it was give and take there for a while as if you cashed easily or not. If you had Morales, you cashed pretty easy. But 5-star offenses tonight, Arizona is the only one. 4-star offenses, Oakland is the only one. If you want to run a chalky Oakland-Arizona stack tonight, throw it out there, go for it. You're in as good a spot as can be had. Run it with a good pitcher. The next thing you know, should you cash? Yeah, if we ran the scenario 1,000 times, but on any given night, you might only cash 40% of the time in that lineup. You might cash 60% of the time in that lineup. You're not going to cash 90% of the time with the lineup. There really is no way to tell you that in DFS. I don't give a crap what anybody else on Twitter tells you. Hey, I won 8 nights in a row. Great. You know what that tells me? You lost the previous 2 weeks. That's what that tells me. It tells me you're normalizing. It tells me you're streaky just like me. You're bragging about it because you're running hot, and you're not telling me when you're running cold, which just basically tells me you're everybody else's schmuck too. Stop begging for money on PayPal, begging for tips. You're not winning people GPPs. You want to win people GPPs? Watch this. Sorry to get sidetracked here, but that lineup selling business for free pisses me the fuck off. You guys are a bunch of thieves. When I look around out here and I see the wall of wins, I see 350K, $100,000 winners. So he's won 350 over the last month. It's really more like over 400 now. He's winning GPPs right and left. He's in the Army. 200K in the Army. 10K in the Army. 10K in the Army. $100,000 in the Army. Stop screwing. That was with golf. More baseball. Stop screwing around trying to brag about winning your damn double up. Get your ass in here and win some real freaking money, all right? We teach people how to do both. You're begging for tips on PayPal for teaching them only to do one way. Get in the top 50% of 100-mans. Woo-hoo! Take your $4, turn it into $8, and tip me. God, it pisses me off. Grow some balls and put your money out there. Build a site, build a team, build a membership, build a community of coaching that actually gives back to the damn community instead of siphons off of it. Jeez, guys, get a life. 5-star offense, 4-star offense in Oakland. 3-star offenses, Milwaukee, Texas, New York Yankees. 2-star offenses in Boston, Toronto, Tampa Bay, and the New York Mets. Let's go to, I blew my wad, man. Whew. I'm going to piss some people off out on Twitter today. Watch me get flamed. Hope I do. Bring the noise, you cheaters. Boston, already sorted by 350 WOBA and above. Bogarts, Holt. What am I doing Boston? It's a 2-star offense. We need to start with 5-star offense. Arizona. I am sidetracked like a mofo right now. Arizona. They're going to be expensive, and I would point out, and you know, when I write these names down, I will underline the under $3,000 guys. Remember we were talking price gaps yesterday too between Fanduel and DraftKings. Maybe it was a VIP only thing, but we find a price gap of about $1,000 between players. Anything more than that is kind of priced up for hitters. Look at David Peralta, $1,400 priced up, pretty good spot. $1,100 for Avila. Not so much for Pollock, not so much for Escobar. See this? Descalzo priced way up. If the dude gets the start him. See those indicators? These are just little things that help tip the cap. You want to run into our domination station, select Arizona as a stack tonight, and only include Goldschmidt, Peralta, and Descalzo, and maybe Souza. Do it. You can do that in our optimizer, and then it'll mix and match 2 or 3 of these guys with another couple of teams or whatever, and it's only going to be running the guys you like. Guys you picked out based on research. You want to go use the XWOBA machine over on the starting lineups page and pick 2 or 3 different guys? Go for it, man. It's a valid method just as much. Come back to the domination station, throw the guys in that you researched, that you like, that you think are in good spots, and make the optimizer work for you. Or it now has a randomized setting too that kind of goes back to the old way of we can globally set exposures to offenses without player specific stuff, and we can just set it to run 4 stacks, 3 stacks, 2 stacks, whatever, and then run 40% Arizona, 20% Oakland, 20% New York, 30% Boston, whatever, and just let it all just jumble them all up. It's using the projections to do it, but it's more randomly picking which offense it prioritizes in a certain stack. That's another way people use the thing. It is now so customizable. You can do anything. If you're a beginner with optimizers or an expert with optimizers, you can do it all with that optimizer. Again, DFSArmy.com, use code CHOP. Friends don't let friends pay retail. Get your ass in here and be a VIP. We offer way too much in the way of tools and content and coaching for you not to think this is a bargain. These are your playables, and we're running in the high WOBA categories, and I underlined the under $3,000 guys, okay? When we run over to Oakland, ooh, I'm at 20 minutes already. I got to bust up those other slates. Don't know that I'm going to do that. I might just cut it off short. Sorry. Oakland, underline those couple of guys again. Watch the plate appearances. Make sure Fegley's starting. He's probably not. Martini, Olson, Davis, awesome. Crush Davis, got to make a wish kid to autograph his jersey, which I think is cool as hell. Instead of me signing your stuff, why don't you sign mine? Because you're the real hero. Turn around, hit a bomb out. I hope he went and gave the jersey to the kid because that is awesome. That's the kind of stuff baseball needs. If you didn't see that story, it's out on Twitter. Milwaukee playables. Pena if he starts. Braun, Kane, Moustakas. Kane's under or Braun's under 2,000 or under 3,000 still. Priced up $1,600, $1,800. Damn. Take notice. Great one-off. Will it work every night? No. But man, the odds are slanted in your favor tonight. Texas. Tochi if he starts. Chu, Gallo, Profar, Odor, Mazzara. A lot of these guys running pretty well as far as Texas is concerned. That's why they're on the high runs scored list. They're also on the high runs against list. That's why Oakland's on our radar tonight too. But these are your playables out of Texas. Yankees. Where'd you go? Stanton's heating up. Andujar. Can't even pronounce that name. Not even going to try. Torres, if he gets the start, only 8 at-bats. I mean, he might be getting the start here too, but there are a couple of cheapies. Neil Walker's cheap, hitting it at 355, coming down a little bit, was running hotter a couple of weeks ago. But those are your playable Yankees. Boston, pretty limited, but look at Holt, still cheap. Great one-off. Probably isn't going to win you a game, with a double dong or anything like that, but he's a good, cheap one-off that is in an offense that should turn the styles and should be in a pretty good spot tonight. Pretty good spot. Not great spot, pretty good spot. Toronto. Granderson, Morales. Anyone have him last night? Pilar, Jansen, Martin, McKinney if he starts. I mean, these are all okay. They're all fairly inexpensive. Good complement to a stack. Not in an ideal spot tonight, but in a pretty darn good one. We know Dylan Bundy isn't much. Tampa Bay. Cron, Choi, Smith, Lowe. Those are your boys. And we'll round off with the Mets. And then I'm sorry, guys. I'm going to bail on the other slates. I'll probably come back to it for my VIPs. But I'll try to keep the stuff relatively short for you guys. We're already over 20 minutes because I went on a 3-minute diatribe about lineup sellers. New York Mets, Smith, if he starts. He's not going to with just one at-bat. Plawecki, if he gets back in there. Reyes, Frazier, Mesoraco, Rosario, Bautista, maybe some Austin Jackson. These guys are all playable. These guys are running well. They're facing a pitcher we're not necessarily afraid of. So what you got to do in a big slate like this is you got to build several different lineups. And we'll end on this little tip. You can't cover all the bases. You're going to have to draw some lines in the sand. Pick your favorite offenses. Maybe it's Arizona and Oakland. Maybe you go under the radar and it's Texas and the Yankees or Texas and the Mets or whatever. But pick, say, 3-4 offenses. Build 4 or 5 lineups around that. Stack within those offenses. Hope you hit the offenses that go boom for 6 to 8 to 10 runs tonight by picking on bad pitching. Hope you hit the right bats in those offenses and you get that combination. You could run really, really tight and run only Arizona, Oakland, New York Mets, and Tampa Bay. Those 4 offenses make 6 lineups and have mixes of all of those guys in there. And if any of them do well, you've set yourself up really well. If they don't do well, you've crapped out completely on a 15-game slate. You got no chance to compete. Or you can go to the smaller slates, which is what we do, where you can cover more bases with those 5 or 6 lineups. And you can come over here and you can focus more on the 3-game slate. Watch these up here. 3-game slate, right? And double check against the offenses we just mentioned. See if you don't have a 5-star offense because Arizona's not on this slate, you come down to a 4-star offense. No Oakland on this slate. Well, guess what? Now, Milwaukee. Where else? Milwaukee's the only 3-star offense on the slate. Milwaukee theoretically is the best offense on this slate. Then you got to drop down into the 2-star offenses to find more. And I don't see Toronto. I don't see Tampa Bay. I don't see the Mets. So now I've got a lead dog in Milwaukee, and then I probably have to go chalk it up in Colorado. Cincinnati's been okay. White Sox been okay. You're crap shooting around it. It's probably not going to be my favorite offense or my favorite slate of the night. I would probably come down here to a 5-game slate. And sorry, I'm going to do this for you just because it's only going to take a couple of minutes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games. And I'm going to look again. There's Arizona, my 5-star offense. There's Oakland, my 4-star offense. Now I'm on a smaller slate with more limited options, and I'm still running the same stud offenses. I mean, if you wanted to on a slate like this, you could get a little bit more contrarian. Fade those offenses that everybody's using. Hope they falter a little bit. But really and truly, if you're running safer, chalkier lineups, you're okay to just eat the chalk here and jump on in. Milwaukee disappeared. Texas is on this offense. There's 3 offenses. No Yankees, no Boston, right? Toronto, no. Tampa Bay, no. New York Mets, no. So there's your 3 offenses, and they happen to be the best ones on the slate. Or best ones on the main slate, too, or some of the best ones on the main slate. Arizona, Oakland, Texas. Now I'm going to take a look into those offenses, and these might be the guys that I run. I'm going to try and take most of my players off that list right there. All I do is cut that down. You can do this with the research station. Okay, plenty more tips to come, plenty more things to talk about inside DFS Army today for VIPs. I'll probably come back, maybe show a little bit more on the small slates. Maybe we'll go position by position like we did yesterday. That was kind of fun. Maybe we'll do that again. There's a million ways to skin a cat, but you got to learn them all. And you got to do that by investing in yourself, becoming a VIP, coming into DFSArmy.com, using code CHOP, C-H-O-P, because again, let's not be silly about it. If we're giving 10% away, take it. Come in, sign up. I can get you in today. I can get you moving before we even talk about the later slates this afternoon. Get in here now. Come and do it. You won't regret it. We've got even more in store for you in NFL. We just had a staff meeting last night. It was badass. The stuff that's rolling out for NFL will blow your mind. Come back and see us. I will talk to y'all tomorrow.